Then the men went as a group to the king and said to him, "Remember, O king," now they're reminding the king of how binding this thing was. "Remember, O king, that according to the law of the Medes and Persians, no decree or edict that the king issues can be changed, not even by the king." Now these guys were pretty smart. You know, they thought they really had this thing going on. So the king gave the order, and they brought Daniel and threw him into the lion's den. The king said to Daniel, now check, I want you to get the heart of the king right now. I want you to listen to, it's almost like his cry, his outcry right here. The king loved Daniel. He trusted him. The king said to Daniel, "May your God, whom you serve continually," wouldn't it be great if somebody could make that charge against us? "May your God, who you serve Monday through Saturday, not just on Sunday, but that we've seen your life and that you serve God 7 days a week, 7/24, 365. That's what God's looking for, guys. He's got enough Sunday morning Christians. He's looking for people that love him every day. "May your God, whom you serve continually, rescue you." The king is saying, Daniel, it's my heart that God would deliver you from this thing. A stone was brought and placed over the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet ring and with the rings of his nobles. So this thing cannot be moved, right? So that Daniel's situation might not be changed. Then the king returned to his palace and spent the night without eating and without any entertainment being brought to him. He was wrestling with this thing, man. Because he had just put the one he loved, the one he trusted, the one that he was going to raise up as over his entire kingdom. He just threw him into the den with a bunch of hungry lions. Now the king is not saved. He doesn't understand the power of God, but he's hoping. Guys, Daniel, I just hope your God can rescue you from this thing. At the first light of dawn, the king got up and turned to the lion and hurried to the lion's den. I mean, this guy is full of hopes and, oh God, I hope Daniel's okay. Wouldn't it be cool if people in high places would look at you like that and pray that you would be safe and secure and that you would succeed? When he came near the den, he called to Daniel in an anguished voice. You know, not really expected anything but the worst news. "Daniel, servant of the living God." Now he's speaking into this thing now, but he says, "Okay, I hope Daniel's okay. Has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to rescue you from the lions?" Now this is the point that the king is going to find out. Everything now during this whole little event is now coming together. Is God who he says he is? Will God rescue us? What does it take to get him to do that? Well, let's look at this man. Daniel was a righteous man. He served God continually. And God is going to perform a miracle in Daniel's life right here, man. This is just so awesome. I want to get my life into a position where God would be willing to do that for me. And I want all you guys to look what God has already done for us, man. I think that maybe we take it lightly. God just gave us 5 acres of property and a church and music equipment. He just gave it to us, guys. Can you imagine what he's got in store for us? Can you imagine that he already trusts us enough to do that? I mean, he could have gave it to some geek pastor, you know, anybody but us. God looks at us different than he looks at everybody else. He does. God looks at us, he says, I know their hearts. These are my people. Jesus came for the likes of you, man. He didn't come for the righteous. He came for the sick. Johnny's here. He's sick.
Be nice to Lollipop.
Isn't it amazing that God would entrust us with this whole thing? I am so excited to find out why. Because huge things are happening. And that's why it was, to me, I need to establish in our church the different positions. I can't have this thing all about me. I can't. That's why I feel like God is calling Bill to come alongside. You know, isn't that cool? What would happen if I got killed tomorrow? There shouldn't be anything different here. This is God's ministry. It's not my ministry, it's God's ministry. We've got to look at it like that. So we've got to make sure we've got everything covered. That's pretty awesome, if you ask me. God turns things that are meant for evil into good. It's happened many times in my life where somebody would come after me, just like this thing with the Nazis. You know, man, it was a whole new relationship between me and the cops in that town, because they finally realized that maybe I'm not who they say I am. Maybe God is setting up something here. Things got a whole lot better after that. They really did. God turns things that are meant for evil into good. Daniel chapter 6, verses 21 to 28. Daniel answered. Now guys, this is no compromise. That's what Daniel was about. No compromise. Nothing. And Daniel didn't have any fear going into the lion's den. What are they going to do? Send him to heaven? What's the fear? But I tell you what, can you imagine what was going on in the king's heart? When he heard, Daniel answered, O king, live forever. My God sent his angel and shut the mouths of the lions. They have not hurt me. Now I'm telling you guys, you got a bunch of hungry lions, it's more than their mouth that can hurt you. You know? They can claw you to death. They have not hurt me because I was found innocent in his sight. And that's what really matters, guys. Nor have I ever done any wrong before you, O king. I have never. And the king would believe that because Daniel was a righteous man. So here you got the king who has struggled all night long because the one that he loves is in the lion's den, and nobody survives the lion's den. And so the only reason that he had any hope at all was because if there was something to Daniel's God thing, that's the only thing. And so the king had to know there was something there. And his hope was in that, because he knew that the lions would tear up Daniel. But Daniel was a righteous man. The king was overjoyed and gave orders to lift Daniel out of the den. And when Daniel was lifted out of the den, no wound was found on him because he had trusted in his God. You know, that kind of reminds me of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. That they were in the furnace, man, that you couldn't even get near. And when they came out, not even a hair on their head was singed. Because they were righteous men. God was protecting them in a miraculous way. I'm telling you what, guys, you know that you've heard the thing, revenge is mine, says the Lord. You're getting ready to experience some of that right now. What's going to happen next? Check this out. At the king's command, the men who had falsely accused Daniel, the men that had set Daniel up, a godly man, were brought in and thrown into the lion's den. I mean, they didn't even have a trial.